Oof, MAGA Mike Johnson is in a panic. Did you see him over the weekend? He has no clue what his talking points even are about during this government shutdown, where he and Donald Trump and MAGA are the ones overwhelmingly being blamed by the American people for the Trump government shutdown. It's not a shocker that they're being blamed, considering that Trump controls all the branches of government and they're the ones who are ripping away healthcare from 20 million Americans while giving Argentina $40 billion. Donald Trump's own pollster, Fabrizio, this guy says that 73% of Americans are demanding that the Affordable Care Act subsidies be extended. So in the face of all the data that the American people are repulsed at what the Trump regime is doing, taking away their health care while they build golden ballrooms and talk about UFC fights on the White House lawn, or as Donald Trump posts AI videos of himself over the weekend taking feces on protesters peacefully saying we want health care and we want our freedoms back. This is a kind of a catastrophic moment for MAGA Mike Johnson. So he goes on the weekend shows. Let me just show you what goes down. They're trying to say, we're the party of healthcare. Y'all remember that bill we did, the big beautiful one, the big beautiful bill? We saved your healthcare. No one's buying that stupidity, MAGA Mike. We all know that disastrous budget bill ripped away healthcare. MAGA Mike's like, but look at all the money we gave to those rural hospitals. You took away $200 billion, you idiot, from the rural hospitals, and then you are bragging that you returned $50 billion? That means you stole $150 billion that were earmarked for rural hospitals. I mean, look at it this way. If you stole $1,000 for somebody's bank account and then you returned $200, that means you stole $800. You don't brag, I gave you $200. People aren't stupid, MAGA Mike. Watch him panic on the weekend shows. Watch his behavior. This is MAGA Mike here. Let's play this clip.
The Democrats did not vote for the clean funding bill. They have chosen to shut the government down, to fight for the health care and the other items you mentioned. But let me ask you, why, as this is going on, why is the House not in session?
Well, first of all, we're fighting for health care as well, not just in word, but in deed. We put it in the one big beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, real reforms to Medicaid to make it work better, to preserve the program, because we had illegal aliens receiving benefits. We had young able-bodied men who are not working. They don't have dependents. They were riding the wagon. We cleaned that up in our bill. In their counterproposal, what Chuck Schumer is arguing for is he wants to reverse those reforms, which would be a terrible policy decision.
And then MAGA Mike is asked about Adelita Grijalva, the congresswoman-elect from Arizona's 7th Congressional District. And he's asked, so why not just swear her in, MAGA Mike? You know you could swear her in. You're preventing her. Why? Because she's the 218th signature on the Epstein discharge petition, MAGA Mike. And then MAGA Mike just makes up all these lies. He's like, I'm actually just following Nancy Pelosi's precedent. I'm following the Pelosi precedent. And then, good for the questioner here, the host of the show's like, that's Nancy Pelosi didn't prevent somebody from being sworn in. That's when the person picked their date. Oh, I'm just going to cite some random things and lie to you. Watch MAGA Mike lie. How do you know MAGA Mike is lying? Because he's breathing. That's how. Here, play this clip.
When are you going to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva?
As soon as we get back to legislative session, when Chuck Schumer allows us to turn the lights back on.
Why haven't you done it already?
Because this is the way the institution works. I'm following the Pelosi precedent, by the way, when my dear friend from Louisiana, Julia Letlow, was elected to fill the seat of her deceased husband because of COVID. Nancy Pelosi took 25 days to swear her in. By the way,
are you saying, let me stop you. Are you saying that Nancy Pelosi refused to swear her in earlier?
No, I'm saying that's my very point is this is the normal
my understanding is that was the date that actually the representative-elect Letlow at the time requested. She had obviously her.
Okay, here's some more examples. Okay.
No, but wait a minute. You mentioned the Pelosi precedent, but Pelosi didn't delay that.
Let me give you more of the Pelosi precedent. Okay.
And what about the Johnson precedent? Because you swore in 2 Republicans the day after their election.
I'm happy to answer. Pelosi precedent. Pat Ryan, Joe Simpolinski. They were elected during an August recess. So 21 days later, when the House returned to regular legislative session, they were administered the oath. That's what we're doing. We're not in session right now. Rep. Grijalva was elected after the House was out of session. As soon as we return to legislative session, as soon as the Democrats decide to turn the lights back on so we can all get back here, I will administer the oath on the first day.
You could swear her in tomorrow, right?
No, not tomorrow. No, we couldn't. We wouldn't. There was an exception for 2 Floridians earlier in this Congress, but the reason was they were duly elected, they had a date set, they flew in all their friends and family, and the House went out of session.
So if she flies in friends and family, then
we don't have a date set. She was elected after.
Okay. Let me.
And then MAGA Mike, look how uncomfortable he is. You see it in his face that he looks like he's just sweating and he's looking down. He looks like a beaten and battered person. Let me show you what went down here when MAGA Mike is asked, so do you support the pardon of George Santos? You know, George Santos stole people's credit cards. He stole the credit cards of Republican donors, and then he bought himself plastic surgery, and he bought things for his home. I mean, he's literally a thief. That's what MAGA Mike, you realize that that's what George Santos did. And then MAGA Mike's like, nah, this is about redemption. Whatever Donald Trump says is right. This is about redemption. Here, play this clip.
The president's pardon of George Santos. What do you make of that?
The president has the right under the Constitution for pardon and commutation, of course. We believe in redemption. This is a personal belief of mine, and I hope Mr. Santos makes the most of his second chance. I mean,
but how about the fact that the president, in issuing the pardon, or it's clemency, the clemency, he said at least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to always vote Republican. I looked through this. There have now, I think we have a list of them, 10 former Republican members of Congress who the president has either pardoned or issued clemency for. 10.
Okay, you want to talk about what Joe Biden did with that power?
No, I
he
want to
pardoned
talk
his own
about
family. The only thing he signed, by the way, with his own pen, everything else is auto pen.
Yeah, but
categories of hardened criminals that they just released from prison. At least President Trump is fully transparent. He goes out and explains his rationale.
Is it okay for him to say that essentially I'm pardoning somebody because they always had the courage?
That's not the reason he pardoned.
Conviction and intelligence to always vote Republican.
That's one snippet of what he said among many things about George Santos.
But should that be a factor in pardoning somebody that they vote Republican?
I don't think it was.
Clemency?
No, I don't think it was. I just think he's talking about this individual and his past, and at least he's open and transparent about it. Joe Biden never told us anything, and frankly, we're not even sure he knew who he's pardoning on any of this.
I mean, you're all watching this with me, right? Like, you see that this is like the most pathetic human being ever, right? Like, how do you even create a human being as spineless as this guy, MAGA Mike? So then MAGA Mike goes, look, everybody, let me tell you what we should really be talking about this weekend. I'm not sure why my MAGA Mike impression is devolving into Billy Madison right there. But then MAGA Mike goes, Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Look at how great things are going in Gaza right now. What the hell are you talking about? That fake ceasefire has already collapsed. 36, 37 Palestinians have already been killed by Israel. Hamas has retaken over control of Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu, Smotrich, not only do they not support a two-state solution, Smotrich is saying we're building more settlements in Gaza. Israel and Hamas didn't sign this agreement. Donald Trump doesn't support a two-state solution. So what the hell are we even talking about? Oh yeah, and Israel said it was closing down the humanitarian aid routes. But go ahead, MAGA Mike, just say, if Donald Trump says he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, why don't you sycophants keep talking about that? These freaking losers. As Donald Trump's out there invading American cities, declaring war on America. What did Donald Trump say this weekend? Next, he's going to San Francisco. That's what he said. His obsession with Newsom. But anyway, here's what MAGA Mike says. Here, play this clip.
A historic peace deal that just by sheer force of his personality, President Trump was able to push through. And I think he greatly deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. In fact, Speaker Ohana of the Knesset and I have joined forces to try to collect as many signatures as we can from other speakers and leaders of parliaments around the free world to join us in co-nominating President Trump for the next Nobel Peace Prize. There's no one's more deserving than that.
Yeah, MAGA Mike, what a pathetic individual he is.
The older I get, the more I find myself wanting to be more intentional about the way I live, eat, and take care of my body. That's why I'm so happy I found Mosh. Mosh, which you may have heard about on Shark Tank, was founded by Maria Shriver and her son Patrick Schwarzenegger with a simple mission: to create a conversation about brain health through food, education, and research. Maria's father suffered from Alzheimer's, and since then, she and Patrick have dedicated themselves to finding ways to help other families dealing with this debilitating disease. Mosh joined forces with the world's top scientists and functional nutritionists to go beyond your average protein bar. With 8 delicious flavors, including a plant-based one in peanut butter and chocolate, each Mosh bar is made with ingredients that support brain health like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. And now Mosh bars come with a new look and new formulation featuring a game-changing brain-boosting ingredient that you won't find in any other bar. Mosh is now the first and only food brand boosted with Cognizant, a premium nootropic that supplies the brain with a patent form of citicoline. But here's the best part: to make you feel good, Mosh donates a portion of all proceeds from your order to fund gender-based brain health research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Why gender-based? Because 2/3 of all Alzheimer's patients are women. Mosh is working closely to close the gap between women and men's health research. Personally, I love the taste of my Mosh bars. My favorite is the peanut butter crunch, which I have each morning before I head off to the gym. Now, if you want to find ways to give back to others and fuel your body and your brain, Mosh bars are the perfect choice for you. Head to moshlife.com/Meidas to save 20% off plus free shipping on the bestseller trial pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on the bestsellers trial pack at moshlife.com/Meidas. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring this episode.
And then MAGA Mike is asked, well, what do you think about these peaceful protests, the largest day of peaceful protests in the history of the United States? All of the things that you and Trump said, that this was going to be violent and pro-Hamas and pro-terrorist, all the stupid stuff you said was proven to be false. People just want healthcare. People want affordability. People want to be able to afford their rent. People want peace in the world. People see Donald Trump's blatant corruption. That's what we're protesting. We don't want kings in these United States of America. Then MAGA Mike Johnson whines about how much easier his life would be if America was actually a monarchy, as California Governor Gavin Newsom says. Here, play this clip.
So let's start with the No Kings rallies. You called these Hate America rallies. What do you mean by that?
Well, that collection of folks that I listed were certainly part of it. We congratulate them on a apparently violent free speech exercise. I was a First Amendment lawyer for 20 years. We defend that right. But the irony of the message is pretty clear for everyone. If President Trump was a king, the government would be open right now. If President Trump was a king, they would not have been able to engage in that free speech exercise out on the mall, by the way, which was open because President Trump hasn't closed it. In the last shutdown, 2013 era, President Obama closed the National Mall, it closed all the national parks, didn't allow people to engage in all this. So, I mean, they needed a stunt, they needed a show. Chuck Schumer needs cover right now. He's closed the government down because he needs political cover, and this was a part of it.
So then the host of the This Week show on ABC, Jonathan Karl, he goes to MAGA Mike. Don't you have questions, though, about what's happening in Venezuela as these fishing boats are being blown up? And now we're hearing from the leader of Colombia that it's innocent Colombian fishermen. We've heard from the leaders of Trinidad and Tobago that it was innocent fishermen there as well. Like, is this the way America's supposed to do things, committing war crimes, just blowing up ships without due process? And now we're apparently repatriating 2 individuals, one individual going back to Ecuador and another, I guess, to Colombia from the latest strike. So these are narco terrorists who you're repatriating. Like, what the hell's going on? Watch what MAGA Mike says. Here, play this clip.
We are winning. We are restoring peace through strength. That's one of our core principles.
Don't you have questions for him about Venezuela?
What about it?
Don't you have questions for him about what's happening in Venezuela? We have this buildup around Venezuela. We have the targeting of these boats. I mean, you must at least have questions about this. I know we have questions.
You have drug cartels bringing in fentanyl in boatloads of it that would kill potentially hundreds of thousands of Americans. What we're doing is restoring.
You have no questions about how they're doing.
No, I believe in peace through strength. I think that the president and the commander-in-chief is in charge of ensuring national security and the safety of the American people. And I think most common sense Americans look at that and say, thank goodness. You take out one boat full of fentanyl, you save hundreds of thousands of American lives. It was the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 49 during the Biden administration. We are fixing that. And that's why the American people put a strong commander-in-chief back in the office.
All right, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, thanks a lot for being here.
Next, MAGA Mike is asked, do you have a sense for why Pete Hegseth is so afraid to interact with journalists? And then MAGA Mike's like, I'll reject that premises. Here, play this clip.
But I just have to ask you what's happened at the Pentagon. Do you have a sense for why the Secretary of Defense seems to be afraid to interact with journalists who cover him.
I mean, reject the premise. There's nothing. There's,
the guy,
fear is not part of the Secretary of War's makeup.
The guy's only had 2 briefings since he became Secretary of Defense.
He's very transparent.
And they basically forced the Pentagon press out of the building unless they would agree to sign a pledge that would make it impossible to be an independent journalist. I can't
remember, and I don't think you can either, a Secretary of Defense who has been so transparent out in the open, talking about priorities, principles.
Oh, I can. I covered the building, and I traveled around the world with Secretaries of Defense. I interviewed them. I questioned them in the briefing room. Other reporters did as well.
But did all those secretaries come out and do public speeches as often as Hegseth does, to be everywhere all the time among the troops?
But answering questions.
He's restoring.
And of course, you guys haven't brought him up to ask about what's happening in Venezuela.
We're not in session because Chuck Schumer shut the government down, okay? We have a lot of things to do, but I will tell you this about the Secretary of War. We are winning. We are restoring peace through strength. That's one of our core.
Now, in this next question that he's asked on state regime media known as Fox, the entire premise of this question is bogus, but I want you to listen to what MAGA Mike has to say here, because Peter Doocy says, look, Donald Trump secured this historic peace deal and he was talking to Hamas and he brought Hamas and Israel together. So why is it easier to talk to Hamas than to Hakeem Jeffries? And MAGA Mike's like, oh, it's a great question. As I said before, there is no peace deal that happened between Hamas and Israel. They didn't sign any agreement. Former President Biden brought back 83% of the hostages. Donald Trump brought back the other percentage of the hostages. It's still good that Trump brought back the hostages, but let's not call a flawed and fabricated and fraudulent ceasefire a peace deal. It isn't. Former President Biden didn't spike the football and say, I made world peace in the Middle East when he got a ceasefire negotiated. What happened here, you don't even have Trump and Netanyahu saying they want a 2-state solution. They don't acknowledge a free Palestine. So what are we even talking about here? But anyway, Mike Johnson's like, that's a great question. I guess it's easier to talk to Hamas than to talk to Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, maybe the issue is, MAGA Mike, that the Democrats don't want a fake deal, because 20 million Americans are going to lose their health care and they're not willing to go along with just making up a fake statement and saying, oops, we got a deal, everybody. So Donald Trump I brought 25 bajillion, quadrillion, trillion, bazillion dollars. And no, the Democrats are saying this is real. It's not some fake talking point. Americans will lose their health care and they will die. So we, as responsible stewards in this government, need to protect people's health care. Do you understand that, MAGA Mike, or are you just a total freaking idiot? Here, play this clip.
Just for a lot of people who have been paying close attention all week, President Trump negotiated a big peace deal. At the same time, Democrats and Republicans cannot negotiate an end to this shutdown. It's the 19th day. Why is it that it seems like it is easier to talk to Hamas than Hakeem Jeffries?
It's a great question. Hakeem Jeffries has the same problem that Chuck Schumer has right now. They're both New Yorkers. There is a rise of Marxism in the Democratic Party, and both of them are going to have challengers in their next election. So they have to show a fight. So they picked one on this short gap funding measure, the CR, that Chuck Schumer himself championed just in March, 7 months ago, the same exact thing. The only difference is they're trying to cover their own backsides politically. And it is shameful to us. When people say, why aren't you negotiating with them? Peter, I don't have anything to negotiate.
Yeah, I guess total freaking idiot. And then meanwhile, Donald Trump on Air Force One, I talked about this earlier, but let me just show you here. Trump is asked about that pollster I told you about, Fabrizio, who says 73% of Americans want Affordable Care Act subsidies. It's popular. Extend it. And then Trump's like, oh, yeah. Here, play this clip.
A July survey by the Washington Post. A July survey by your pollster, Tony Fabrizio, found that 72% of voters across political parties like the ACA tax credits. Are you worried that you might get blamed if you don't help get those through?
Well, we want to have great health care, so we'll do whatever we can do to have great health care. But the Democrats want to destroy all health care because they want to give $1.5 trillion of this money, and they want additional money to go to people that came into our country illegally. Many of them are from prisons and mental institutions, and we're not going to destroy our health care for the Democrats.
Yeah, again, not sure what that impression was that I just did of Donald Trump right there, but that's what went down. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. MAGA Mike, you saw him there for yourself. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe, and let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
New Meidas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.